There's a lot of things today which people are saying Islam needs to change its opinion on. One of them is hijab.
And that term hijab, guess what? It's not in any of these three verses. In fact, it's nowhere in the Quran directly meaning a woman's veil.
So with regards to the hijab, like we always say, our source is the Quran and Sunnah. If we go back to the Quran, we find that the Quran is very specific. A lot of people like to make the argument that it's vague.
These verses were left intentionally vague.
But with regards to the hijab, it's specific. And what it says about the hijab is that the female should place her khimar, which is a head covering. According to every Arabic dictionary, it's a head covering. And initially the Arabs at that time, they would allow the tail of that scarf, that khimar, the head covering, to go onto their back, and they would leave their chest exposed. So the Quran says to take this khimar, this head covering, and also use it to cover the chest. So based upon this verse, we understand that the head must be covered and the chest must be covered. This part of the body must be covered. This is what's referred to as hijab. Although the term hijab itself wasn't used in this verse, it's come to be known as hijab.
People might say that, well, the hijab is attached to modesty, and modesty is understood differently today than it was then. That was the cultural norm then, and now it's a different cultural norm now. So therefore, why can't hijab also change? Why can't it be less or more?
A woman could choose for herself how to dress according to her specific culture and the progression of time.
Obviously, we understand that the reason for this is modesty, that the female should be modest. But our understanding of what is modest is according to how Allah Azza wa Jal in the Quran and Sunnah has taught us to be modest. On the other hand, if we say that all we have to do as Muslims is be modest, and the way we understand this modesty is based upon our culture or based upon society, what is socially accepted. If we say this, really what we're saying is everything is allowed, because certain societies say culturally that the female should cover their whole body. And in other societies, on the other side of the spectrum, they say that the female can almost uncover her entire body, besides a few small areas. By saying that the ruling is based upon modesty, and we are allowed to understand modesty based upon certain culture or certain societies, what we're actually saying is everything is allowed, from the start of the spectrum to the end of the spectrum. So you're not actually giving a ruling. You're not actually saying what should be allowed.
Was there any group of ulama that came out and said or redefined what hijab was?
So this is one of those things that there was complete agreement upon. At the very least, that the female should cover her head and her chest as well as the rest of her body, and exposing her face and hands, and some said the feet. This is something where the ulama of our tradition from the time of the Prophet ﷺ have agreed upon. So it's actually quite bemusing that we have certain people in our times who come along and say that all of these ulama got it wrong. Is that something which is realistic? Thousands upon thousands of ulama, experts, have got it wrong, and now just by sheer coincidence, few Muslims have come along and said, now I've got the correct understanding. While every single other scholar, hundreds of thousands of scholars, got it wrong.